Hey, White Sox fans. Oh my goodness. I'm a crafty bastard. Some people just call me bastard, especially even on the White Sox beat. Anyhow, it took me bringing out the Soxivus celebration for a second straight year to get Tommy Barbee back with us on podcast. He's here. He's in the middle square, at least on my screen. Father Soxivus, thank you for joining us for this podcast and for what promises to be, hopefully, most of up to an 8-week Soxivus celebration this year. We are devoting this number 125 Mothership podcast to the managerial search. I don't know how we're going to title it, how we're going to do that cutely. I think Melissa had come up with something that was somewhat cute. Maybe we'll just call it that. I don't know. There are at least about 6+ votes for the different manager options. Of course, the White Sox would choose none of them, but this isn't who we think will pick, or the White Sox will pick. This is who if we were Rick Hahn, forgive us, or sorry if we are, but if we were Rick Hahn, who we would hire. So I'm going to just somewhat randomly go around. First of all, to begin with, we have a 6-pack, something like that, of Southside Sox podcasters, writers, personalities, blind date going honors, people complain about snacks in the green room, et cetera, et cetera. It's Melissa Sage-Bollenbach, Super Joseph Resis, Allie Wesel, Matt, connect the dots however you want to, listeners and viewers. Allie Wesel, it's Jordan Haas, Dante Jones, and in at least my middle square, it's Tommy Barbee, Father Soxivus himself. We are going to start representing 2 writers, Brian O'Neill, who's not with us. He's too literary for podcast. But Brian O'Neill and Melissa Sage-Bollenbach both chose this particular manager, very hot candidate and popular choice. So Melissa, I will let you take over and tell me why it is Joe Espada is your choice for the next White Sox manager.
Joe Espada is my choice because he's a fellow Gen Xer. No, I'm just kidding. That's the leading reason. No, he checks off.
That's better qualification than Rick Hahn uses, Melissa. So you're good.
So he checks off so many boxes for me and so many boxes that, according to Rick Hahn, that he wants to check. He has had great experience sitting on the bench with great managers. So he's been around, for what you would call championship windows for other teams. So I really like that. I like that what the players that play with him for him say about him. They seem to think that he has all the tools that you would like in a manager. So I really like that. And he, according to the GM of the Astros, he said that he blends old and new. And so I really like that concept. Let's do some old school stuff, but let's be current and know the rules and, use analytics appropriately. And so for me, he seems to check off a lot of boxes that I think would fit really well. And he's also bilingual, which I think to me is super important based on the makeup of our clubhouse. Our clubhouse is extremely diverse, and I think that that's a huge plus.
But Melissa, can you trust anything the general manager of the Houston Astros says?
This is true.
All right, what we're going to do with each of these candidates, and if anybody has a thought on anybody's particular choice, that's cool, and you can shout it out. But I'm just going to go around everyone else and say whether you'd be okay with that choice. So, Joe, Espada next manager, that's okay?
Absolutely, yes.
Okay, Allie.
100%.
All right, Father Soxivus.
It makes way too much sense, but yes.
So you just say yes, but it's not going to happen. Jordan.
I guess I've never heard of him, so.
I like what you bring to this, Jordan. Dante, what do you think about Joe?
I would love it.
Okay. All right. Well, so that's thumbs up. We're okay with Melissa's hiring for the next manager, Gen X or not. Okay, moving on to the next candidate. Again, somewhat random down my list here, but actually on my grid, next up anyway, it's Super Joseph Resis, who is choosing another somewhat popular selection, or at least buzz about town, Ron Washington. Tell me about Ron Washington and why he should be the next White Sox manager, Joe.
All right, well, One thing is, this is a candidate who has no ties to the White Sox organization. That's an important one for me. In addition to that, he's had a lot of success in his 8 years as a major league manager. He's won 2 American League pennants. He's brought the Rangers far closer than anyone else has to a World Series victory, and has been on coaching staffs of other very successful teams like the 2021 World Series champion Braves and the Moneyball Athletics of 2002. I think, like Espada, who again I gave a very enthusiastic seal of approval for, he's also can also find the check the boxes of old school and the new school combination. I liked how rarely his teams issued intentional walks when he was with the Rangers, significantly less than the league average for most of those years. And so I guess with most managers, you wouldn't have to worry at all about 1 and 2 intentional walks, but we can say with certainty that that would not be an issue with Washington. So I think with all of the successful teams that he's been a part of, and his familiarity with teams that have used analytics successfully, I mean, I really feel like despite his age, he's very, very on board with the whole analytics movement, and he could bring a lot to the table here.
You anticipated one of my follow-up questions on the intentional walk. I didn't realize how in-depth your research had been, how many of the 1-2 intentional walks he's issued, but apparently, as far as we know, it is 0 on record. And another thing in his favor, I would say, Joe, not to color anyone's vote here, is I believe he has, I can't say this or not for sure, but I believe he has successfully addressed his substance abuse issue, and our current manager or former manager still never has. Okay, it is time to vote on Ron. Melissa, you okay with Ron Washington?
Yeah, I think he'd be great. I think he checks off a lot of the boxes too. Like Joe said, I think he'd be great.
Boy, we're so easy. Allie.
I'm a little hesitant with his age. I really would like to see someone between the ages of like 40 and 55. But if that's the only box he's not checking, then sign me up.
Thanks for raising it to 55. You're going to get some pushback from me, but thanks for raising it to 55, Allie. That was nice of you. Tommy, all right with Ron Washington?
Sure. It's not the greatest pick. I think out of the older candidates, he makes a lot of sense. Yes, he addressed like the substance abuse, but like between that and the lingering sexual assault rumors, like it's just like I'd rather not have one more controversial managerial hire.
Like Tony Light.
Yeah.
Oh boy, we've made Father Soxivus very grumpy for this first of the celebration.
Saying,
Fair enough. Jordan, you all right with Ron Washington?
I guess. If I have to be, I will. But I think there are better and younger options that you never know with an old manager if they're gonna retire after a year or 2 or something comes up. It's like I'd rather have someone like Allie said, younger and someone with less controversy around him. So
yeah,
I'm gonna say no.
Okay, all right. Hey, it's about time. I mean, here's the thing: we all know that it's like everybody we're talking here is going to be better choice than who we end up with. So there should be a lot of positivity here on this podcast. I encourage you to be tough. Dante, you don't have to be tough on this one, but what do you think about Ron Washington?
I'm kind of a Ron Washington guy because of the whole Rangers history, and like that's one of the teams I watched a lot, like in my high school years. But at the end, like he always has a great defense. But as Tommy said, the history, like we just dealt with La Russa. Do we need more?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we know that he won't just throw a random catcher at first base, based on the portrayal in Moneyball. Okay, whatever. Yeah, I'm all right with those two. Nobody's asking me, but yeah, I guess I'm okay with those two. But yeah, I would rather not. Joe Espada, the White Sox aren't going to get Joe Espada. They're just somebody's going to offer him money, and the Sox are going to be like, "What? We got to pay managers? It's not just like a lifetime contract." Okay, next up is going to be Jordan Haas. Her choice is Sandy Alomar. We've heard this for many, many different weeks because this has come up since like July, or I don't know, since 2020. So Jordan, make a pitch for Sandy Alomar Jr. of the Cleveland Guardians.
I know nothing about managers, to be perfectly honest, but I have heard of it. I have heard his name in the ring for like every manager job that comes up. And I don't, to be honest, don't see him leaving Cleveland. He's probably in the line for Terry Francona's job after whatever he wants to do, but I don't see him leaving Cleveland unless there's some exuberant offer, which the White Sox aren't going to give. But he seems like the kind of guy that he's worked under one of the best managers in the game for a long time. He has the playoff experience, as we're seeing, at least on the bench. And he's got at least a little bit of managerial experience from the 50 or so games he managed in like 2012. Or did he manage that whole season? I don't know. But he seems like a good option. He speaks Spanish. He checks all the boxes I have for, leading this team. He's younger than a lot of these other options, but he seems like a good fit, as much as he's probably not going to leave Cleveland.
Yeah, I hadn't really considered until just hearing on the Side Sox podcast. I think Lee Allen mentioned that he was probably going to stay put because Terry Francona, who's not in the grace of health, not going to manage forever. None of us are, but maybe leaving sooner, and that's why he's maybe content just being first base coach, not even bench coach any longer on that team. It is Sandy Alomar. Got a little bit of Guardian stink, but then can't really talk that down too much these days, I suppose. Melissa, your thoughts on Sandy Alomar Jr.?
Well, I'm going to back up to the Ron Washington thing. I didn't know anything about the sexual assault stuff, so.
Uh-oh, turn it around. All right, now we're starting to get really negative. The pitchforks are coming out. Okay.
That's the case. We do not need any of that.
Yeah, fair enough.
I mean, Sandy Alomar has been rumored, around the White Sox for several years. I mean, he is somewhat in the Sox family. So, if we're going to cut those ties completely, we do have a little bit of those. He would be one of my top choices, but it's just not even going to be possible. Like he's just not leaving. I mean, would you leave Cleveland? I mean, that's where his ties are. And he's obviously they're doing great. And would you jump over to this hot mess if you were him? I wouldn't. So.
Oh, I don't know. It's still Cleveland. I would leave Cleveland, but yeah, I get the point. Joe Resis, thoughts on old Sandy?
No such thing as Guardians stink with the way that their season has gone. I can't really bash Cleveland in any way right now. Alomar earns my seal of approval. And for the record, I also did not know about, I've heard all about the White Sox reaching out to him, and none of the sources that I've read about their, them reaching out to him did I come across any mention of any sort of sexual assaults myself. So I do apologize for that. And I do definitely need to research that further, but if that's even like remotely true, then I would rescind that vote for sure.
Father Soxivus single-handedly in this
didn't
podcast
mean to destroy this,
tanking the possibility. Sorry, Ron, we ain't answering your calls no more. Sorry,
this is
Ron.
something we need to destroy, to be fair, though, if like that is a thing.
So it has been like, when this first came out was like 20 years ago, and it was during a time in which most allegations like that were left to be public rumors, and it has never really been directly addressed. It has never really gone away. I know that Ron Washington did that really awkward retirement where he said he was being unfaithful to his wife, and substance abuse was involved, and that was around the time that this whole thing came about. So nobody has ever gotten a straight answer around the story, and it's just kind of lingered. So I mean, I don't know if it happened, if it didn't, but it just seems weird enough where it's like, I don't know how I feel about it personally.
I mean, somewhat similar with Daryl Boston. I mean, this is a somewhat single source thing. The accuser now is no longer even alive. So it's like, you sort of get to skate on it, except for folks like us would say, hey, Daryl Boston, you're not going to be manager of the White Sox over our dead corpses. Okay, Allie Wesel, on that note, what are you thinking about Sandy Alomar?
Yeah, obviously Ron Washington, if that's the case, like poo-poo on you. I don't need no more drama. I've gotten enough drama here in the South Side. Sandy Alomar, I think I just echo what everyone else says. Like, I think he would be a great pick and a great fit here in Chicago if he were to choose to leave Cleveland. But again, I don't see him leaving Cleveland, especially when their window is quote unquote just starting to open here. And I think he's kind of setting himself up to become manager like some other people touched on. So, I mean, why would you walk away from that?
There's absolutely far too much positive Cleveland talk going on here. And I don't care if they're about to go to the World Series. I don't care.
We've talked about how the AL Central isn't getting worse. It's only getting better. So we might as well recognize it.
Happy Soxivus, everyone. I don't know. Tommy, did you give us a weigh in on Sandy Alomar? I'm not sure if you jumped in.
I did not. Jordan, you may say that you know nothing about managerial hires, but just from that recommendation, you know more than anyone that has picked a White Sox manager for the last 20 years. So that being said, yes, Sandy Alomar would be a perfect fit for the White Sox. I have thought that for many years, but I don't think he's ever been interested based on everything I've read. And he does seem to be in line for the Cleveland Guardians job, but otherwise I would do that in a heartbeat.
You think at some point having White Sox roots like Sandy Alomar does would actually ward you away from taking the job? Before it just seemed like a positive thing, but I'm thinking now you'd say, oh, wait, that's right. It's the White Sox. I know those guys. Dante, what are you thinking about Sandy?
I mean, my pick is Sandy. So, like, I've been screaming from the mountaintops for a while. But as everyone said, unless if Tito's retiring anytime soon, he's good. Like, Sandy's taking over the Guardians job. I would hope that we can pry him away from the Guardians, kind of like the Raiders did, pried away Josh McDaniels from the Patriots. But like, that's our only hope at this point with it.
Look at Dante snuck in his scofflaw choice. He has not actually written his endorse, even though he has been touting Sandy Alomar again since probably like 2020, if not July. So, okay, that is a strong vote for Sandy Alomar. And let me throw it in there because it is going to be in our story. DeMarco Hale, the current bench coach for Cleveland, Chicago Roots, went to CVS. Managed everywhere, would not be a bad candidate either. But man, can we please stop talking about how awesome Cleveland is? And let's move on then to, oh goodness gracious, it's Father Soxivus himself. It's going to be Willie Harris. What's going on with Willie Harris, Father Soxivus?
I had to pick a White Sox organization guy. Like it just makes too much sense.
I'm with you.
But I think that to the credit, if they go this route, Willie Harris at least has minor league and major league managing and coaching experience. He's done well at pretty much every level. He actually, his first gig post playing was the hitting coach for the Voyagers, the rookie league White Sox team. So he has always been really popular amongst the players. He was on the 2005 White Sox team, if that's like your thing. I think that he is the guy that kind of has that mix of old and new, has a little bit of swag and attitude to him where he can relate to a lot of the players on the team and knows the organization well, but hasn't been in the White Sox organization for all this time. So he'll have a different perspective as opposed to this, chaos that we've been living in is somehow normal.
Alternately, I just naive enough about the situation not to know to say no.
Yeah.
He'll say, sure, where do I sign?
Exactly. He'll also listen to Rick Hahn. So that's an added bonus, I'm sure.
Yeah, really. At least for Rick Hahn and nobody else. All right. Melissa, Willie Harris, 2005 White Sox hero, as they all are. What do you think?
I mean, he's with the Cubs.
Oh, Cubby stink. Oh man.
No, I'm just kidding. To echo what Tommy said, I think that, the players really connect with him. And I think that that's really important because I think, my opinion, that was probably a part of what we were facing this year. I think players can respect somebody, but not connect with somebody. And I think that Willie Harris seems to have that down, that the players really buy into his vibe. So yeah, I'd give him a thumbs up.
Safe to say he had a better third base coaching season this year on the other side of Chicago than Super Joe McEwen did. But speaking of Super Joe, let's go over to Super Joe Resis, the better Super Joe pretty much by any measure. Joe, what do you think about Willie Harris coming on back to South Side?
If the White Sox have to choose someone from the 05 team to come back and manage, he's the best choice. But despite that, my answer is no. Leave the 05 White Sox alone, please.
Okay. All right.
I have to be able to be nostalgic about that. Like, Harris scored the game-winning run in Game 4 when Jermaine Dye hit that game-winning single. Like, I don't want any sort of negative kind of feelings about him down the road. Leave the 05 White Sox alone.
Man, we are just
my thought.
We are just grinching left and right on this first week of Soxivus, and I'm going to challenge your notion that Joe, when it comes to my pick. So I'm going to prove you wrong. Allie Wesel, what are you thinking about Willie Harris from the north side to the south side?
One, I don't know a lot about Willie Harris, and two, I don't know Tommy Barbee very well. However, I trust his choice. So if Tommy Barbee says that we should bring Willie Harris to the south side, then I guess we should bring Willie Harris to the south side.
Tom, you see why you should just show up for every podcast? This is the type of respect that you are going to get.
Rick Hahn could never pull this off. I'll
Hell
just
no.
say.
Hell no. All right, Jordan, thoughts on Willie Harris?
He has recently been quoted as saying he has swag, and that is all I need for this team to have is a manager with swag. So I am all in on Willie Harris.
Again, the swag criteria alone makes it better than whoever will actually be hired as the next manager of the
The
White
kind
Sox.
of person that says they have swag is the right person to
I
be
think-
the
I think-
Chicago White Sox manager.
I think I'm with you there. Okay, Dante Jones, thoughts on Willie Harris coming back home?
If we give Willie Harris, like Joe said, like this is the only 2005 White Sox. I'm like, yeah, he can manage us. That's fine. And also now I want to see Willie. I want to see Willie with 50 chains on next to Jose. and Luis.
Every game can just have a half-hour delay while somebody looks for their chain. Yeah, that's okay. That's fair.
Every home run the White Sox hit under Willie Harris, they get to pick a chain off of him to win.
Yeah, they won't have the home run chain to just take one off. Man, not bad. All right, we're gonna get to Allie's pick. Maybe I don't know if I'm gonna allow her one, even though Dante stole one. We're gonna talk about a little bit of news, and I'm gonna give you my pick, where I'm gonna prove both Joe and Dante wrong. We're gonna take a quick break and see how much longer we go. It might be short. Hang with us. We'll be back with very important and compelling information on this first week of Soxivus celebration. Welcome to Soxivus. It is a 2-month, I think we've counted up to a 2-month celebration, taking us like into November, into Thanksgiving, maybe into December. I don't know. I can't count. My name is Brett Ballantini. I'm lucky enough to host this first as sort of the proxy for Father Soxivus himself, who we're lucky enough to have with us, and who apparently, rumor has it, is circling Chicago shortly, and will be actually back in the Chicagoland area, at least for a brief stay, to just make everybody wish that they were able to line up a date with the very well-respected Father Soxivus, Tommy Barbee. So I hope, Tommy, you can hit as many of these 8 pies. We're doing one for every Soxivus celebration, so I hope we can hit as many as possible.
I will be here.
All right. I like that promise, and don't think I won't hold you to it. Okay. I have promised I will prove both Joe Resis and Dante Jones wrong, that Willie Harris is the best choice from the 2005 White Sox team, because I'm going to throw at you skilled, beloved, universely beloved star from 2005. Because let's face it, they're going to be a White Sox connection. There has to be, and I still think it's going to be like Jose Abreu. But okay, we're actually choosing somebody here. My choice. Great success as a manager, even though I believe it's wearing on him. I think he did just resign, so I'm not sure if he can necessarily handle the pressure, or for that matter, the language barrier. It's Tadahito Iguchi coming from Japan to manage in Chicago with the Chicago White Sox. Now, I don't expect anybody to think that's a cool choice. And, hey, I'm a host and I'm a clown. I don't really care. But all right, hey, give me your thoughts on Tadahito Iguchi, who has had success. He's managed stars. He's juggled personalities. He's had a great career, certainly more so in Japan than in the U.S. and in Major League Baseball. He was my choice, and I think he would be a better selection than even Willie Harris, despite the decided lack of swag coming out of Tadahito. Melissa, you're already, I think, on record as saying we maybe don't need any 2005 folks back. But thoughts on Tadahito Iguchi taking his Japanese skills to major leagues?
Thank you for not saying Paul Konerko. I was like, oh my gosh, is Brett picking
You thought
Paul
it was coming.
Konerko? Yeah, that was totally from left field there, Brett. I mean, he's certainly beloved as part of that 2005 team. I didn't know that he was still active in baseball and doing some things over in Japan, but I mean, he would certainly probably be better than anybody we're going to end up with. So, why not?
That's the baseline criteria.
And he could work with defense. I mean, he could hopefully improve the defense. Sure, Brett, why not?
Okay. All right. That's all I need to hear. Sure, Brett. All right. Go ahead, Joe. Tell me why my selection of 2005 White Sox is better than the one you thought was the best, and then Willie Harris.
I gotta be honest, I was not expecting this. This is a bit of a curveball for me because Iguchi's, I like the idea. I'll go ahead and give him a green light on this one. I am still not overly sold. I do think there are options that I would rather have, but he definitely has managed on Japan's biggest stage, and has, I feel like the teams that he has managed haven't had a lot of talent, but he's been able to get somewhat decent results with them. I mean, I don't hate it. I'll go ahead and give him the green light.
I know I don't get any of the respect that Tommy Barbee does, and I understand I'm just the clown host here, but listen, every once in a while, I do all right, but of course now everybody's going to shut me down here. Allie Wesel, what do you think about Tadahito Iguchi coming back to manage the White Sox?
Earlier in the season, I asked when the last great second baseman played on the South Side. Like, when was there a memorable second baseman to play here? And that is the number one. He's the last guy that's played second base. So I think for name factor and recognizability, it works. But also, I don't really know much about his coaching history since he stopped playing. Mm-hmm. But anything is better than what we had. Mm-hmm. So sure.
Okay. All right, a very full-throated endorsement from Allie. Of course, Ken Williams will claim he just watched tape of Tadahito managing. He didn't actually ever see him live, and he still hired him, and it worked in 2005. Okay, Tommy, Tadahito, give it to me.
I like it. I was worried you were going to say Pitsetnik, so I was like,
that's a sexy choice.
That's where a lot of people are going, but no, Iguchi, I think he did really well in the Japanese league, so I think it makes sense. That would be an interesting choice.
All right, we've killed Ron Washington's chances in this podcast, and we've made Tadahito Iguchi a candidate. Jordan, I assume you're just whatever.
No, wait, no. First, Allie, the disrespect to Gordon Beckham. You threw.
Oh God.
Gordon Beckham is my very first ever heartthrob baseball crush. I will never disrespect that man. Put that on the record right now. But he was not a good second baseman, and he did not pan out.
My answer for Tadahito Iguchi is no.
Okay.
I don't think he's a fit for this team. I think he would be a good manager for a team in the major leagues. I don't think he's a fit for this team. I don't think how I see his style of managing would be as as something that would fit this organization.
The good style. Yeah, I got you. All right, that's fair. That's a very fair point. Go to Pittsburgh, Tadahito. That's fine. Jordan sent you to Pittsburgh. Sorry, what we can do about it? At least you got to the major leagues, sort of. Dante, thoughts on Tadahito?
I thought I was just gonna say AJ Brzezinski. I was just gonna leave, but we didn't.
There was a time, man. I really thought that was a great idea. Granted, it was 15 years ago, and he never broadcast a game dissing the White Sox. But I'm glad.
It cannot get worse, probably. So you know what? Screw it. But at the same time, 05 White Sox. Don't ruin the one World Series I saw, and the one World Series that the majority of people on this planet saw from the White Sox.
Well, yeah, I mean, the problem is when is one coming? I mean, we may have to just, I'm sorry, we may have just have to keep, I like how I just made everyone address Tadahito Iguchi as a legitimate candidate for White Sox job. But again, none of us would have thought Tony La Russa either. Good Lord. Allie, what would your choice be? I'll give you your spot here.
I don't know enough about the landscape of managerial candidates right now to confidently give you one answer. Like, I obviously have, the same criteria that we've kind of thrown out with some of these candidates we've already talked about. Like, I'd like someone young who's either worked really closely under a manager or has the managing experience in a championship contention window, but like who that is, I can't really speak to that. So I'm going to safely say I don't have an answer.
Okay. Yeah, we'll just put you down for Canerco then. All right, that's fine. No problem.
Please don't.
No problem. I like the fact that everyone thought I was going to pick just a terrible choice from 2005 and I actually picked one that people couldn't immediately say. Now, next podcast, you'll come back and say, well, now I figured out why this is a terrible choice.
For the record, I decided to do a little Wikipedia search on Gucci,
Mhm.
and his nickname is Gucci. He has my vote.
Okay, the swag factor that came out of nowhere. We weren't expecting it.
I
There it
have
is.
now switched my vote to yes based on that alone.
Sorry, Ron Washington, and congratulations, next manager of the Chicago White Sox, Tadahito Iguchi. All right, we're running a little short on time. We're probably going to do much longer ones for many of these Soxivus categories. This one I just decided to sort of wedge in. It's not really official. We're supposed to be starting with grievances. Seriously, Tommy Barbee wrote, somewhere he probably has like a whole almanac of how this is supposed to work and the rules. I don't know, it's a Seinfeld thing or whatever. I admit I'm sort of, I can't speak to that, but I believe grievances will be, and here's the thing, grievances, we've been grieving all year. So, I mean, we probably just needed one podcast pause on grievances and we will bring them back with full fury in a week. We're running short on time, so we're not going to get to talk to Allie about how her evening went, but we will talk about, speaking of North Side, South Side, etc., speed round here. I guess the biggest, goofiest, stupidest, most ridiculous and preposterous, disgusting and offensive news we've been hearing of late is Jose Abreu being pursued, not pursuing, being pursued by the Cubs in free agency. So I need to know if that has any wheels whatsoever. Melissa, do you see that possibly happening?
No, I think Jose is too classy. Like, I think Jose, the White Sox are going to drop him, but he is going to stay classy and be like, Cubs, no.
Mm-hmm. And listen, Melissa's coming from a mixed family of baseball fans. So, I mean, she knows what she speaks of. Do not challenge her on this one in terms of the classiness per se. Joe Resis, any possible legs to this?
I mean, maybe if the Cubs overpay him, I don't think he'll decline it, but I don't know. I'm guessing the Cubs probably, I don't know, maybe feel like first base. I don't know if Abreu, it should be at the top of their priority list this coming off season or not. And despite his age, he will be pretty pricey. I would guess that the Cubs won't overpay him, but if they do, then anything's possible.
They're going to send him a tape of hitting home runs in like 12 consecutive at bats, and he'll be like, "Oh yeah, that's right. I sort of did that there." Okay, Allie, any possibility that Jose goes to the other Chicago team?
Yeah, Jose's been pretty vocal about how difficult it was for him to transplant his family up here to Chicago. And I think if the price was right, and the Sox were going to let him walk, I could see that being a possibility so that he wouldn't have to move, just for that sake. But, if all the other factors didn't line up, then, I don't see that happening. Obviously, I hope to see him back in black and white, but yeah. All
right, time running short. Tommy Barbee, pressure's on. Yay, nay?
No, he'll go to the Cubs, and he doesn't owe the White Sox anything. They wasted his career without any sort of a ring or anything like that. Like, no, go to the North Side and enjoy.
Jordan, thoughts?
If he wants to lose, he can go up to the North Side. But
he's already been losing. What's the difference?
Losing hard. He has no chance of a ring on the North Side. Granted, he probably doesn't have a good chance of winning a ring with us, but up there. But I also agree with Allie's point of he might not want to move again. So maybe it's a combination. Maybe there's going to be a bunch of different factors. Maybe he goes somewhere close closer. Maybe he goes to like Detroit or something like that. I don't know.
Jordan with a blatant diss of the team that was maybe about 9 games worse than the White Sox. Dante Jones, thoughts on Jose Northside?
It could happen, but I think Jose's just going to get re-signed by White Sox for a like family-friendly deal, all that stuff, all those good things.
Yeah.
And, we'll figure out the whole Eloy, Vaughn, Abreu, Sheets thing that some people have been talking about in our Slack. But
Mhm.
yeah, like I'm just on the side of Jose staying. He might just become player manager. Or maybe he'll stay first baseman for White Sox and manage the Cubs. I don't know.
Is that challenging? Yeah. I hear you, Dante. And I'm with you. The Sox aren't letting him go. And plus they're going to re-sign him for like $3 million. I think it's something ridiculous. He's be like, yes, thank you. All right. Sorry. We did run a little short on time. A lot of things to talk about. So we'll put a pin in it for Allie next week. Okay. This is beginning. This is festive celebration. You heard, everybody saw Time Barbee. He pledged a commitment to full-throated 8 weeks of Soxivus celebrations. Next week, Grievances. So yeah, it will probably be a 3-hour podcast. We'll make up for the fact this one was a little short. Thanks everybody for watching, listening, etc., all that stuff. Join us for the holiday celebration that is Soxivus here through, I don't know, the end of the year. Take care, everybody.